You know that feeling like you're constantly being underestimated? Like no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to command the respect you deserve? Or honestly, even find that genuine, rock-solid confidence within yourself? Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are completely cutting through the noise. I'm going to be acting a bit like your personal coach right now as we unpack the core insights from John Winter's highly acclaimed guide on the alpha mindset. We're translating all these concepts into a visual blueprint that you can literally apply today. All right, let's dive into this.
I want you to answer this honestly. Does fear dictate your life? Because for a massive amount of people, the answer is an absolute yes. They're living entirely trapped inside their comfort zone, completely paralyzed by what other people might think. They're letting self-doubt kill their potential before they even take a single step forward. Look, if you're constantly shrinking yourself just to avoid judgment, you are quite literally choosing to let life happen to you, instead of taking charge of it.
Okay, first things first, we need to redefine a very loaded word. Forget the toxic, arrogant stereotypes of what an alpha is supposed to be. Real alpha energy is absolutely not about being some loud, aggressive bully trying to dominate the room. In fact, as the source material points out, arrogance is just a cheap mask that insecure people wear. What we're actually talking about today is a disciplined blueprint for personal transformation. The whole goal here is destroying fear, building explosive confidence, and naturally earning respect.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to conquer 4 distinct battlegrounds: your internal foundation, forward momentum, the ultimate obstacle, and lastly, the external environment. Let's get right to it.
Battleground number 1, the internal foundation, which is all about real self-confidence. We really need to debunk a massive misconception right out of the gate here. Confidence is not some magical gift you're just born with. It's a muscle. And just like any muscle, you build it through deliberate daily practice. Alpha confidence is this silent, deadly internal strength that you forge by deliberately confronting your doubts and your past failures. The author actually shares a brilliant personal story about this. When he first started public speaking, he would literally stumble over his words. People laughed at him. His internal voice was screaming that his credibility was totally ruined. But instead of throwing in the towel, he leaned into deliberate practice. He did small speeches, small audiences, then slightly bigger ones. Every single failure just chipped away at his fear. He confronted his insecurities head-on, and that, right there, is exactly what forged his unshakable, silent strength.
But here is the catch. You cannot build that internal strength if your physical house is basically falling apart. Look at these external disciplines: fitness, grooming, diet, sleep. If your body is weak, fatigued, and you look a mess, you are never going to project any natural authority when you walk into a room. The alpha mindset recognizes that these basic external habits are the critical anchors holding up your internal confidence. You know, you can listen to motivational speeches all day long, but action and discipline are what actually build the foundation.
Now here is the ultimate mental pivot. Normal minds are absolutely terrified of judgment. Their default setting is, if I fail, people will judge me. But look at the alpha mindset. If I fail, I get an opportunity to learn. If you are terrified of failing, I guarantee you will never, ever grow. Shifting your perspective to view failure as vital feedback is exactly what guarantees your presence in literally any social or professional setting.
All right, moving on to part 2, forward momentum, massive dreams and ambition.
Listen, if your goals are completely realistic, totally safe, and perfectly confined to your little comfort zone, you're playing a game that guarantees the world is going to ignore you. Playing it safe is just a recipe for mediocrity. And if you are playing it safe, look at this harsh reality check. Right here, 90%. 90% of people kill their own dreams internally through self-doubt long before any external threat or obstacle or competitor ever even shows up. That's enough ruined dreams to fill stadiums. They assassinate their own potential simply because they convince themselves they aren't capable.
And you know, when you do start dreaming massively big, people are going to call you unrealistic. They'll underestimate you for sure. But notice the stark contrast in reactions here. A normal mindset retreats the second it gets laughed at, but the alpha mindset, it attacks the challenge with relentless focus and energy. When your vision is crystal clear, external validation becomes completely irrelevant. You just don't need their applause because your massive, deliberate actions are already doing all the talking. Which brings us to section 3, the ultimate obstacle. This is all about weaponizing fear.
We have to reframe fear entirely. It is not a giant red stop sign. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a directional arrow pointing exactly towards your next phase of massive growth. It's a signal that you are right on the edge of a breakthrough. The rule is incredibly simple. Bigger the risk, bigger the reward. Now, an alpha doesn't just magically stop feeling fear. That's impossible. Fear is human, but they refuse to let it rule them. They take calculated risks because staying in your safe, comfortable bubble is honestly the most dangerous thing you can do for your future potential.
So how exactly do we weaponize it? Well, the source material gives us this highly actionable 4-step framework. Step 1, visualization. You mentally simulate acting calmly in highly fearful situations. Step 2, micro-exposure. This means tackling small, uncomfortable tasks every single day, like just speaking up in a morning meeting. Step 3, physical preparation. A fit body handles stress and adrenaline so much better. And step 4, which is honestly the most important, action over analysis. Overthinking completely paralyzes you. Rapid execution is the ultimate cure for fear and overthinking.
Let's look at Section 4 now, the external environment, earning respect and setting boundaries.
There's a really hard truth presented in the source, and it's this. No one comes into your life randomly. Every friend, partner, or coworker you attract is a direct reflection of your own internal energy, your boundaries, and your self-worth. So if you're constantly attracting toxic people, it might be time to check your own internal chaos. Just look at how these two mindsets handle conflict. Normal mindsets avoid conflict at all costs, and they become really emotionally needy and dependent. But the alpha mindset thrives on emotional intelligence. It utilizes fearless conflict management. And no, that doesn't mean screaming matches. It means strategic calmness and deep listening. Being emotionally independent means you inspire and attract people, rather than clinging to them and trying to control them.
When you finally stop being needy and you start actually enforcing your boundaries, you build relationships on these 3 pillars: loyalty, patience, and commitment. These are the specific, non-negotiable components of a genuinely magnetic connection. You naturally earn respect by setting a standard of absolute integrity. You never compromise your self-worth, and you gracefully let go of anyone who refuses to respect those boundaries.
And finally, Section 5, our conclusion. Mindset is destiny. So we've laid out the entire blueprint for you. We've talked about confidence, ambition, fear, and relationships. But remember this one thing above all else. Mindset is destiny. Simply reading a roadmap, or honestly just watching this explainer, is entirely useless if you refuse to actually take the journey. Knowledge without execution is literally just wasted potential. True power and freedom do not exist out there in the world. They exist entirely within you. You can't control every situation life throws at you, but your mindset dictates whether you win or lose in those moments. Daily, deliberate action is the absolute only way to solidify this transformation from the inside out. I want to leave you with this final, incredibly vital question. The blueprint is in your hands right now. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to read it, nod along, and then just fade right back into your comfortable safe zone? Or will you take relentless daily action, weaponize your fear, and become truly unstoppable? The choice is entirely yours. Make it count.